Hey up and welcome back to Apple Yards in Keighley, and today we're going to be doing another bike review, and it'll be the Suzuki GSX 8S. In the meantime, and if you're in this neck of the woods, get yourself down to Apple Yards, a long established local dealership here in West Yorkshire. Plenty of stock, plenty of demonstrators, and you're assured a warm and helpful welcome. So, without further ado, join me for the ride and we'll see what all the fuss is about on the Suzuki GSX 8S. Right, here she is then, the Suzuki GSX 8S, here in blue and white, and a brand new bike for Suzuki, as is the V-Strom 800DE, which I took out last week. Have a look at that video. This is exactly the same engine. They're both brand new engines. There's no precedent or provenance with which to compare them. Brand spanking new. So this is Suzuki's midweight naked. So let's hop on board and see what she's about. And we'll just let that 5-inch TFT go through its little bit of theatre. One touch start, and it's the same display, unsurprisingly, as the V-Strom. We have on the left the rev counter, then top right down we have the clock, excellent. We have the traction control, 3 settings. We have the SDMS, which is the throttle response, 3 settings. Then we have the gear indicator. To the left of that, a digital readout of the speed. Below that, the fuel gauge. And below that, your trip meter and temperature gauge. So all very useful information there. Let's crack on. Now, I'm expecting the performance of this engine to be exactly the same as the V-Strom last week. It is exactly the same engine, but it's also got the same mapping. Sometimes the mapping is varied between different platforms of the same engine, but not on this one. So we're talking 82 brake horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 57 pound-feet of torque at 6,800 RPM. We'll do the numbers on the walk around. But yeah, it feels exactly the same at this point. Except to say that the bike is a good bit lighter, and that may well manifest itself in a more lively performance. It's certainly physically a much smaller bike than the V-Strom. So you'd expect some payoff there in terms of performance, but let's see how we get on. Or not get on here by the looks of things. What a perfect opportunity to talk about the fuelling, which is absolutely excellent, just as it was on the V-Strom. And here we are feathering the clutch because we're down to less than 10 miles an hour for whatever reason, and the fueling's absolutely perfect. And lovely and smooth for a parallel twin, this engine. Suzuki employ 2 balancer shafts in this configuration with this 270-degree crank. And once the revs are up, it has a sewing machine-like quality to it. Now, some might say that means it lacks a little bit of character. Well, we'll find out. And very, very popular indeed, that V-Strom video. And I suspect most of that is down to the popularity of the bike rather than to my talents as a reviewer. But either way, clearly there's a lot of interest about concerning the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE, and let's see if the same can be said of its little sister here. Okay, let's see if we get a safe overtake opportunity here and we'll be able to assess its performance. So here we are in 4th gear, and oh, here we go. Oh yes, plenty shove. Of course, it's a naked bike, and as such there's little or no weather protection. But I can't say that there's any undue turbulence around the head at all. And it's a really, really comfortable riding position. Obviously, straight handlebars on this bike, but leg-wise, quite a sporty riding position. So best of both worlds, I suppose you could say, in that regard. So yes, as I was saying earlier, this is it's a brand new bike for Suzuki. It does not inherit revised incarnations of the previous configurations, if you like. And its natural competition, if you will, is going to be the new Honda Hornet. About the same size engine, 750-ish. The Yamaha MT-07, the new KTM 790 Duke. And yet again, all those bikes actually cheaper than this one. This bike comes in at £8,000, or if you want to be precise, 7,999. And those other bikes are a little bit less than that. The Honda Hornet, in fact, is £1,000 less than this, albeit that this comes with a quick shifter as standard, and the Honda Hornet doesn't come with a quick shifter as standard. However, 250 quid gets you a quick shifter on the Hornet. So measure for measure, this bike's £750 more expensive than the Honda Hornet. But I can't give you a comparison there because I've not ridden the Honda, and for that matter I've not yet ridden the Yamaha MT-07. Lots of pickup, so the torque is right where it should be, mid-range torque. Very useful indeed. And if you like to do a bit of touring, there's no reason why you shouldn't be at a tour on a bike like this. If you accept its limitations in terms of weather protection, and you probably have to be a little bit creative with your luggage options, throwovers or something like that. But in terms of the mapping, very much suited to long distance touring, where you can comfortably execute most manoeuvres in a higher gear. And I'll take that any day of the week before screaming 10,000 RPM plus raw power, which tickles the fancy of some, but not me. Beautiful handling on the bends there, and there we are, 28 miles an hour, fourth gear, and not a hint of fuss about it at all. So yeah, I suppose the price point might be an issue, and it's early days really to say whether this bike, in terms of fit and finish and endurance and reliability, offers a few £100 worth more of rail world value than those bikes do. That said, of course, Honda historically have a long-standing reputation for reliability and durability, as do Suzuki for that matter. So you wouldn't ordinarily expect any issues around reliability to present themselves within the lifetime of any of those bikes. Your opinion may well differ when it comes to the KTM. It just depends who you talk to. So quite firm suspension. That said, the roads around this neck of the woods are pretty atrocious, even on a good day. But definitely a firm ride, but of course that will translate into some sure-footed handling and cornering characteristics. And a lovely sound coming out of that parallel twin engine. It may be very smooth once the revs are up for a twin, but it's still got character. And of course the whole idea behind the 270-degree crank is to make the bike feel a little bit more like a V-twin, and it certainly does. Lots and lots and lots of real world power. You could have a stack of fun on this. Very flickable, and it's only 203 kilograms in weight. And therefore, as you would expect, she feels very, very nimble and planted in these bends and on these uneven road surfaces. Yeah, so I mean, in this category, it's a very popular category, isn't it? This sort of 700-800cc nakeds, and I'm sure there are others with which it would be fair to draw a comparison over and above the those three bikes that I mentioned: the KTM, the Yamaha and the Honda. And what would influence individual buying choices, given the almost identical performance and specs in relation to all of those bikes, will probably be things like brand loyalty. Some people are Honda people, some people are Yamaha people, some people are KTM people. So that will probably be a factor, and the price might also be a factor, of course, with this bike, as I mentioned, being a few £100 more. But like I say, you do get quick shifter as standard on this bike. We'll just give that a little try once we get past Dick Hudson's here. Probably the most famous pub in Bingley. Right, let's try the quick shifter. So we're in 4th, 5th, 6th. Crikey, it's like riding an automatic. Almost like a DCT if you could forget what your foot had to do. Let's try going down. 5th, yeah, 4th. And it does benefit going down, as did the V-Strom, from a little bit of a blip on the throttle. If you change down on the quick shifter without tickling the throttle, it's a little bit jerky, nothing too dramatic. However, if you just give it a little blip like that, it seems to cope with that transition much better. So let's try the brakes. Front. Oh wow, yes. No issues there. Rear. Adequate. Nissin brakes on this. Okay, so let's see how we fare with a little bit of lively acceleration. I have to say this with any bike that's sort of in the 800cc category. If it ain't enough power for you, really. I know I'm getting on in years, but I do still like a little bit of thrust, shall we say. But you know, an 80 horsepower bike is going to give you all the thrills you really should be needing. Unless you're a TT racer or something of that ilk. Right, world's most uneven road surface, and it is very firm suspension on this. It's not adjustable at the front, but it is adjustable for preload at the rear. And on roads like this, you certainly need, you certainly know you're on a sporty bike, let's put it that way. So here she is then, the Suzuki GSX 8S. And I'm not normally a lover of white bikes, but in combination with that sort of turquoisey blue colour, it actually works, I have to say. So there we go, the familiar one up, one down LED headlight configuration there, which is shared with the V-Strom 800DE and also with the GSX S1000. And yeah, a little bit rhinoceros-like. But I think it suits that bike more than it does the 1000cc. Anyway, let's talk numbers. starting at the front wheel, and a 17-inch wheel there, tubeless on cast alloy rims, sporting Dunlop Roadmaster 2, I think they are. Road Smart 2. So yeah, tyres Dunlop Road Smart 2. They seem alright, although one or two commentators have touched on the fact that perhaps the bike would benefit from some slightly different rubber, but feels fine to me. So yeah, brakes, twin Nissin 4-pot calipers there, and twin 310mm discs, and upside down forks, 43mm KYB forks, not adjustable at the front there. Back wheel, you can see there we have a double-sided swing arm, and the rear suspension there is a monoshock, but that is adjustable for preload. And I should mention that the travel on the front forks is 130mm. So at the back there we have a 240mm single disc with a Nissin single cylinder caliper, or single piston caliper I should say. A very short little stubby exhaust there, but good sound out of it for a stock exhaust for sure. Now the engine there, as I mentioned earlier, we have a 776cc liquid cooled parallel twin, double overhead cam and 8 valves per cylinder, and a 270-degree crank with twin balancer shafts, which really shows once you get the revs up. And in terms of the numbers on this, it's 82 brake horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 57 foot-pound of torque at 6,800 RPM. Those numbers identical to its adventure bike sister, the V-Strom 800. And chain drive, no centre stand as standard, so either you're going to need an ABBA stand or something similar, or do it the old-fashioned way. Quick shifter as standard, which you can probably see the gubbins for there. Now the seat height on this is 810mm, and the pillion seat is a reasonable size, and no reason why you couldn't carry a pillion all day long on this bike in comfort. The tank is 14 litres, that's 3.7 US gallons, and you're probably going to get about between 45 and 50 miles per gallon, I would suggest. There are some better figures quoted by Suzuki, but I think they're a little bit optimistic, to be honest. So your tank range is probably around about 150 miles, which is usable. Okay, looking at the mirrors then, they're what I call cat-size mirrors. Excellent view to the rear, no issues there at all, and don't look out of place. The brake and clutch lever, the brake lever you can see there is adjustable for span, and the clutch lever is not adjustable for span, and it's a cable clutch. Switch gear, right hand side, obviously have your one push start button and kill switch, hazard warning lights, and on the left, horn, indicators, front for full beam and pass, and in the middle your mode selection switch there for the throttle settings and the traction control settings, which, as we said earlier, are adjusted via the switchgear and the TFT screen there that you can see. So, all in all, a lovely, compact, very usable motorcycle. So let's take a look at me seated upon the bike. 810mm seat height, and I'm 6'1" with a 32 going on 33-inch inseam, and as you can see, I'm comfortably flat-footed on the bike and still with a bend in the knee. So the overall riding position, as you can see, legs at a fairly sporty angle there. Handlebars, a nice reach, not overstretched. More or less in the sweet spot there, I would suggest. Yeah, a very light, nimble and plenty powerful enough bike that will fulfill most of your needs, whether it's for commuting, weekend scratching or for touring. I suppose the only issue really with this bike is, do you go for the Honda, do you go for the Yamaha or the KTM or something similar, or do you go for this bike, which is a little bit pricier than those bikes? No, not hugely so, and bearing in mind of course that the quick shifter is included. But a cracking bike. I mean, I'd happily have one of these, and it'll tick most of the boxes if you like your spirited riding. So yeah, nice bike, brand new bike, new kid on the block, and first impressions, very, very good indeed. Okay, hope that was of some interest to you. If you're in the market for a mid-weight naked motorcycle, then please give the Suzuki GSX 8S a try. You can come down here to Appleyards in Keighley and take out this demonstrator, see what you think. I think it's a great bike, and of course it's a brand new bike from Suzuki. And if I was to sum it up, I'd say it's all about the engine basically with this bike. Suzuki have done a fantastic job. It's powerful, it's urgent, and yet it's refined. So well worth a thought, this bike, if you're in that sector of the market. Okay, so it only remains for me now to say a very big thank you once again to Appleyards in Keighley for the loan of the bike. And until the next time, ride safe, be kind, and I'll catch you soon. Toodle pip.